Palantir, literally the worst company in the world, literally? As bad as Nazi soldiers? Helping Trump get elected, that's the whole reason they were established? Selling your personal information to the highest bidder? Now imagine my surprise waking up, finding out that Ross Gerber went to the Dave Lee podcast and talked briefly about Palantir. And in those 5 minutes, he managed to spew so much nonsense, I honestly don't know where to begin. Now, unfortunately, even though I like Ross a lot, and I don't want to do this to him, but I'm about to knock you out. I mean, when you say things like that, I mean, where was your research? I mean, that's easily verifiable. So let's start with the basic facts here. Is Palantir literally the worst company in the world? I don't know. I don't think so personally, but you may think that. But let's talk about things you can check. So first of all, his claim was that Palantir was established to get Trump elected. Only problem is Palantir was established 13 years before Trump ran for presidency, which means they either anticipated him running 13 years ahead of time, which means they have an amazing software, or that's absolutely false. You get to decide which. I think it's quite obvious. And the second point that was brought up in the discussion is the dilution matter. Now, this is a well-known FUD about Palantir, and I think it could be easily avoided just by people checking data and facts. Now, Ross, my guy, I expected a little bit more from you. Now, as far as dilution goes, you should know this, but the share count of Palantir has not changed since the DPO. So when the company went public, they had 2.15 billion shares. That has not changed. The reason is because when you go public, and again, this is a little bit disappointing because I expected him to know this, especially with him being very bullish on Tesla and with everything that just went on with Elon, basically exercising options, selling stock to pay for those options. But I don't remember if I ever heard Ross Gerber say that Elon Musk doesn't care about the shareholders. They literally did the identical thing, the same thing. Exercise options that were given a long ass time ago, sell some stock to pay for these options and move on. But in the case of Tesla, it's kind of a little bit of a selective analysis, right? When Alex Karp does the same thing as Elon, he gets called out by Ross, which again is something I don't understand. Now, Alex Karp, much like Elon, was granted about, I think, 70 million shares of Palantir when they were pretty much worthless in 2010 and 2011. Exactly like Elon with his batch of options. Now, over the years, I mean, he spent a good decade basically building up the company and making it into what it is today. These options are expiring on December 3rd. So they've already expired, my guy. So this whole past year was basically him getting to the point where the options are about to be worthless. Now, Elon's options are actually expiring on August next year, and him selling right now is okay. But Alex Karp literally sold the minute before the options were expiring, and that somehow is wrong. So basically, what happens when you exercise options, and in the case of Alex Karp, he had no choice but to exercise because they were about to expire. When you exercise options, you're paying tax, and quite a hefty one, about 50%. Even though you're actually spending money to purchase these options, you're not getting any money. And now you're on the hook for basically the fair market value of the stock times your tax bracket, which is, as I said, roughly 50%. So you have to come up with this money somewhere. It's a lot of money. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. So basically what Alex Karp did is the same thing that Elon did. Submit 10b5-1 plans, sell every time he exercises, sell exactly half to pay for the tax and nothing more. And yet in the case of Palantir, this is FUD. In the case of Tesla, somehow nobody brings it up. I honestly expected a little bit more, I guess, fairness from Ross, or to be a little bit more educated about basic things, because I don't know what's worse. He either did not understand that, or he knows, and yet he's being very selective about his analysis of Palantir versus Tesla. Again, not my place to judge. I fully respect the guy, but I expected more. Now, I do want to talk about the stuff that really, I think, irked a lot of people from the Palantir community. It is essentially the whole private information. So he basically called them merchants of private information to the highest bidder. Yeah, it's literally, against what they stand for. That is why they left Silicon Valley, because their feud with the Facebooks and the Googles and the Apples is the fact they do not collect personal data. In fact, Palantir have been on record multiple times, unless you think they're lying, which would be quite easy to expose because they have so many clients working with these products. Basically, Palantir have been on record multiple times saying, hey, we don't collect personal information, we don't sell personal information, and we don't move information from one client to another. We have no use for personal information. We don't even use it to train our AI systems. We look at big chunks of data and we analyze it on the macro level to help the organization make better decisions. Case in point, what they did with Airbus. The Foundry platform takes all the data from all the planes flying around and basically helps guys like maintenance workers to preemptively perform a sort of little maintenance on the plane to prevent a big breakdown of the engine. Or, for example, if they want to optimize scheduling. So they look at how many flights went on time, how many not on time. They don't look at specific John Does or John Smiths or whatever that went on board and where they're going and where they're headed. It's meaningless to them. It's pointless. If you understand the platform, you understand that personal and specific information is meaningless in this system. They're looking for predictive mechanisms based on big movements of data and how things work on the macro level. Why would they care about personal information? Not to mention the fact that, I wish they would have sold personal information like Apple and Facebook and Google. They would have had 10x more revenue if they did that. That's probably one of the reasons that's holding them back a little bit, because they won't do it. And the sad part is, I think a lot of people will miss out on Palantir because this sort of FUD seems to be very effective. Now, I don't mind. I know that the share price will catch up with the quality of the company, and I'm happy to buy more at a reasonable price. But I think a lot of people are missing out on Palantir because they hear guys like Ross and other people basically spreading this FUD about the company. I don't know if it's intentional or not. It's none of my business. I'm just here to set the record straight about all of the issues that were brought up. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know below. Also, as always, don't click nothing, don't smash nothing, don't buy nothing. I'm just here to give you the information. And, I'll see you in tomorrow's video.